Hey friends, so this document changed my perception of what UFOs actually are and where they're coming from. And I want to go over a few bullet points real quick, and then I'll get into what I think about all this. So this document's from 1947, and it was declassified by the FBI. So let's just hit a few of these points real quick. So in the document, they say, they're talking about the flying saucers. They say, part of the disc carry crews, others are under remote control. Their mission is peaceful. The visitors contemplate settling on this plane. These visitors are human-like but much larger in size. They are not excarnate Earth people but come from their own world. They do not come from any planet as we would use the word, but from etheric planet which interpenetrates with our own and is not perceptible to us. We're almost done. The bodies of the visitors and the craft also automatically materialize on entering the vibratory rate of our dense matter. We won't get into that. That's about their laser beams. Kind of scary stuff. But it says the region from which they come is not the astral plane, but corresponds to the locus or talus. Students of esoteric matters will understand these terms. Locus and talus. So that's what I want to talk about now. So locus and talus is from ancient Hinduism and also theosophy, and what it talks about is the 7 realms of the universe. So they split the universe into 7 realms, and each realm they're like bipolarized, right? So they have different polarities. So you have a kind of like a material and a spiritual realm. So the locus is the spiritual realm and the talus is the material realm, right? So there's 7 levels to the universe. Okay, this is where it gets super interesting because they're kind of nestled. There's a hierarchy. So we're at the bottom level, right? So we're right here, and we can't really see or interact with anything outside of our level. But outside of our globe is what they call it, our world, we're at the densest bottom, most material world. Outside of that is wrapped in these 6 other bubbles. Okay, and when you go up, so say the bubble right above us, right? That talus. They can interact with us and everyone in their world, okay? And then you go up a notch, they can interact with everything below them, right? Then you go up and up and up. And as you go up, you get less dense, more into a light being. And then each one of these can descend to the level below it and the level below that and interact with those worlds if they want to, right? So this led me to remembering what Tom DeLonge said one time. He had a classified briefing, and he said that the way he was described what a UFO was is not a flying disc, but a submerging craft. So meaning that the same way we get into a submarine, right? So for us to go into the sea, we have to become more dense, okay? Because we have to sink into the sea. So a submarine actually has these like containers that fill up, these compartments that fill up with water. When they fill up with water, it makes the submarine more dense and it sinks. Now for the submarine to come up, it lets that water out and then it floats up, okay? So that's how a submarine goes down into the sea. It doesn't swim down, it doesn't propel down, it sinks, it submerges. That's why it's called submarine, submerge, okay? So these UFOs, these crafts. So imagine we're here, this is our globe, and then there's a etheric realm around us. And now they have access to everything in their realm and everything below it. See? So if they want to go down, they have to become more dense. They have to sink, right? So these crafts, these tic-tacs and these discs and these triangles and all these different crafts that we see, they're not flying here. It's not like they're coming from some other planet in the universe and flying here physically. That's not the way things work when you get to this level of consciousness. So each of these realms above us is stacked on top of us. So they're not flying here from somewhere else. They are physically here. They're stacked on top of us. They just have to lower their density and sink into our realm. Does that make sense? It's crazy, huh? If you think about it. So we're all trying to like reverse engineer their propulsion system and trying to figure out like, how do they fly? What's their energy source? And this kind of stuff. It's going to be more like a Merkaba, right? A Merkaba is like, or Merkaba, however you say it, is basically 2 tetrahedrons, 2 pyramids, right? So you have one pyramid going this way and one pyramid coming down this way. They spin around in opposite directions. And I actually have a meditation. I'll do another video on a Merkaba meditation, which you can actually create this vehicle around your astral body so that you can safely travel through the astral realms in different dimensions. It's amazing. Now, this is how I believe these these beings in these higher dimensions, right? These other talas, how they come down in our worlds. They create these Merkabas. They have to have like a ship. They have to have some sort of a craft, like the same way we go into the ocean. Like we can swim, we could just dive into the ocean and swim, but eventually it would get too dense and it would crush us. So we get into a submarine, and the submarine safely carries us down into the ocean. That's how these beings are safely submerging themselves into our density here. So we're in the lowest density. Now, a real quick summary of what the Hindus and Theosophy says about what this progression is that basically we start at the top and we're just pure light, right? We're the absolute source consciousness. And each level that we go down, we descend down and we gain more materialistic stuff. We get more dense, we get more of a body, we get more belongings, we get more possessions, we get more things, and we kind of fall down the ranks. And when you get to the very lowest part where we're at now, the job is to ascend. That's why they call it ascension. You have to ascend back up through the 7 ranks till you reunite with source in the absolute at the top. And then that's your loop. That's your progression. That's what we're doing here. You have to turn completely material, and then you have to go back the other way. That way you've learned everything. You've experienced everything. You've seen it from every single density, every level. You saw it on the way in and you saw it on the way out. On the way out, I would assume you're more appreciative and grateful and understanding of everything because you're seeing it from both sides. Anyways, so knowing that, there are these realms where these like layers of an onion basically that go out, these 7 layers, they can be described as a higher level of consciousness, but they're also physical, for lack of better words, places where beings live. So in each of these realms, there are beings that live there. In each realm, each one up the peg is going to have different beings because they're a completely different density, a completely different like kind of phase of existence and consciousness. So, and then they're going to have different craft because they're just completely different. Each world is completely different, but they're stacked like those Russian dolls, you know? So as these different beings in these different realms, these different, telos and logos, as they are, like descending, I guess you would say, submerging into the levels below them, they have to use a Merkaba craft. And their crafts are going to be different. That's why we're seeing so many different kinds of crafts in the sky, so many different kinds of beings. Some are glowing light, some are childlike, some are more robotic, some are more organic, some are more fluid, some are more ethereal, some are more physical, right? And then the crafts are different. Some are more organic, some are just light, Merkaba, some are plasma. They're all sorts of different things because they're coming from these different realms. But what I think is the most fascinating is this paper that was declassified by the FBI talks about this. They talk about these flying saucers. This is from 1947, right after Roswell. This was this paper that was classified, and they're saying, hey, these aren't crafts coming from other planets. These aren't aliens coming from other worlds. They're literally submerging. They're dropping. They're sinking from the densities above us. And this is all told in the Hindu teachings and Theosophy. It's really wild stuff, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. They're submarines. They're etheric, spiritual submarines. It's a way to increase your density, because we're at the densest part here. So they can increase their density and sink through the different dimensions to get to us, right? And then they're like, and then they zip on out of here, right? That's why they just kind of appear and disappear like that, right? The same way we do in submarines. I'm sure there's sometimes like sharks and whales and fish and stuff. They're like, what the fuck is that? They see a submarine. Think about a submarine. It's a tic-tac underwater. What do we see in the skies? Tic-tacs. They're submarines. Astral freaking submarines. What do y'all think about that? Have a beautiful day. Peace.